Hello and welcome back to Something Z, and welcome to What If Deku Had a Crying Quirk Part 4. Last time on the What If, the USJ attack happened, and everyone is alive at the very least, so let's jump back into the What If. So we start at the first class after the attack, and the class is wondering who's going to substitute for Aizawa, since he was very injured during the attack. But after the bell rang, Aizawa walks through the door with his head heavily bandaged, and he tells them about the UA Sports Festival. Some people in the class are hesitant if they should even have the sports festival, since they were just attacked. But after Aizawa tells them it would send a bad message to the world, saying that one attack could stop them, they stop persisting. And he tells them that they have 2 weeks until then, and they should spend the time they have left to train to get stronger. And everything happens the same after class, where Class 1A was blocked by other students, and they meet Tetsu and Shinzo. So during the 2 weeks, Izuku was able to make a deal with the school to let him bring a can of his freshener and onion spray, but only a small amount that contains about 5 sprays each, and as long as he doesn't use it on the other students. The reason they allow him to bring those 2 items is because the onion spray is inactivated for his quirk, and the freshener is for better control over his quirk. So we skip to the day of the sports festival, and Class 1A is in their waiting room, and Shoto still says that he will beat Izuku in the sports festival, and Izuku says he will not be beaten and he will win. And then they leave to go to the stadium, and there they learn that the first stage of the festival is an obstacle race. And Midnight tells them to line up in front of the giant hallway, and when Midnight gets to 0, they start the race, and with everyone having problems moving through since everyone is packed in. And when Todoroki freezes the pathway, he is able to get to the front of the race. And Zuku, still halfway in the hallway, gets his feet froze on the ground, but he is able to get his feet freed quickly and start to run through while other people are still getting their feet free. And when he started to run out of the hallway and continue on the path, Izuku in the distance was able to see Todoroki freezing a 0-pointer, and he saw some of his classmates get over the robot before it collapsed. And by the time he got to the broken robot, he destroyed a couple of the robots using a robot plate he got from some debris. And when he got to the cannon, he did the same thing as in the cannon, and just climbed the rope with the plate on his back. And when he eventually got to the minefield, Bako and Todoroki were far ahead in the minefield. And after a bit of thinking, Izuku starts to dig a pit and put some of the mines carefully in it, stacking them one after the other. And after he gets a decent amount, he jumped onto the mines, using a piece of the robot to protect himself from the explosion. And with the explosion, he was able to launch himself all the way to where Todoroki and Bakugo were. And before he lands, he slams the piece of robot on the ground in the middle of the 2 runners, launching him a bit more ahead of the other 2. And when he landed from the explosion, he was able to continue running, and then he finished the race in first place, with Bakugo and Todoroki finishing afterward. After some time, everyone else finishes the race. When they do, Midnight tells them about the next event and how it's a cavalry battle. And Zugu finds out since he finished first, his headband is worth 10 million points, and they are told to come up with teams of 4, and all the teams end up the same as they do in the canon. And when they start, multiple teams go after Izuku's team, but Izuku and his team were able to get away from them without losing their headbands by using Hatsume's hover boots to fly over everyone else. And they continue doing that strategy until they are face to face with Team Todoroki. And they have a fight, and Izuku is wondering how to distract the other team long enough to escape and keep the headband. He thinks for a second about using his crying quirk, but he knows how much of his sprays he has, and he knows he should probably keep them for later. And besides, he doesn't have his nose plugged for his teammates, so it would just hurt him to use his crying quirk. But while Izuku was coming up with a plan, he did use his reciprocal burst, and Todoroki was able to grab Izuku's headband. Izuku then tells his team to rush Team Todoroki to try and get their headband back. When they got close, Izuku put one for all into his arm and he slices through the air. And Todoroki instinctively for a second uses his flames, but immediately turns it off when he realizes he's using his fire quirk. Izuku then tries to go for another grab for his headband, which he was barely able to grab one, but the one he grabbed wasn't his. So with a couple seconds of the cavalry battle left, Team Izuku went for one last attack to grab the 10 million point headband, but before they were able to get close enough, the time ran out, and Team Izuku was believed to be out, but Tokoyami was able to grab a headband at the last second, giving them enough points to go into the 3rd round. So we skipped lunch, and during that time, Izuku and Todoroki had the talk they had in the canon, where Todoroki thinks that Izuku is All Might's love child, and how he refuses to use Endeavor's quirk, and he will be Izuku. So we skipped to when Midnight is discussing to the students that the 3rd stage will be one-on-ones. and after she says who's fighting who, Ichiro and someone from Class 1B say they want to resign because they don't think they deserve it. In an effort to replace them, 2 people from Team Tetsu were able to pass to the next part of the festival. And over the break time they had before the fight, Izuku was told by Ichiro about Shinzo's quirk and how he shouldn't talk to him. So we skip to the fight between Izuku and Shinzo. When the countdown ends and the fight begins, Shinzo starts a fight with taunting Izuku by talking about how Ichiro was a fool and how he was worthless. Izuku, knowing that he shouldn't talk, keeps his mouth closed, and he keeps his sprays in his pocket, since he knows he can beat Shinzo without using One For All or his crying quirk. So they do some pushing and punching until Izuku was able to grab onto Shinzo's arm and shoulder throw him out of bounds, making Izuku the winner. And all the matches will have the same outcome as they do in the original, besides the one Midori is in. So we skip to Izuku versus Todoroki. When the countdown ends, Todoroki starts the match by launching an ice attack at Izuku from the other side of the arena. And the way Izuku was able to dodge the attack was by using a Delaware Smash, breaking a finger. And when he flicked his finger, the ice broke completely, and Todoroki used an ice pillar to keep him from going out of bounds. Izuku then grabs his onion spray from his pocket, and he sprayed himself in both eyes. And from the stinging he starts to cry, activating his quirk. With his quirk activated, he was able to reach Todoroki with the smell. And Todoroki in response made 2 small ice pillars, and breaks them off, and sticks them into his nose, which is able to block out some of the tear smell, making it so his eyes are filled with tears, but he can't open them. Todoroki then launches another ice attack, which Izuku uses a couple of his fingers to stop the ice. Then Todoroki starts to launch ice attack after ice attack, until Izuku only had a couple of fingers left. And while Izuku was distracted by the ice attacks, Todoroki started to run at Izuku, and was about to fight Izuku hand to hand. But the moment Izuku sees Todoroki running towards him, Izuku wiped some of the tears on the back of his hand, and when Izuku was able to get close enough, he was able to swipe at Todoroki's mouth with the back of his hand, wiping some of the tears under Todoroki's nose. But in exchange, Todoroki was able to put a layer of ice on the back of Izuku's forearm. Why are you trying so hard? I'm trying my hardest, like you should be. So many people's dreams is to be as strong as you, and to be here right now. And what are you doing? You're not trying your best, and you expect to be the best. So stop holding back. Did my father pay you to say this? Like I told you, I'm gonna beat you and win without using his power. It's your power, not his. So stop holding back on me and everyone here. Then Todoroki started to use his fire quirk, melting the ice in his nose, letting Izuku's quirk affect him, but he didn't care. And with his eyes squinted, and his fire quirk raging on his side, he and Midoriya go for one final clash, with both of them using 100%, causing a huge explosion in the arena. But since Todoroki couldn't see clearly, it didn't hit Izuku head on, making it so Izuku was able to get more of a hit on him, but ultimately ending in a draw, and Todoroki confirmed the winner, since Izuku is still in a terrible condition. And that's where I'm going to leave the what if. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time on Something Z.